Sadashiva-Samarambha
Shankaracharya-Madhyamam
Asmadacharya-Paryanta
Asmadacharya-Paryanta
Vande
Vande Guru
Guru-Paramparam.
Paramparam.
Sahana
Om
Bhavatu
Sahana
Sahana
Bhavatu, Sahana
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu,
Sahana Bhavatu
Sah Vidyam
Sahana
Karavavai, Tejasvinavadetamastu Ma
Tejasvinavadetavasthu Ma
Vidvishavahai.
Om Shanti
Om Shanti Shanti
Shanti.
Shanti.
Okay, so I'll just mute you all. And so we were on Anuvaka number 2, and we had finished that portion up to Anyontara Atma Pranamayaha. So I hope you can all get that portion. It's on page 24 of the Mantra Pushpam. Any other book, it will be Anuvaka 2, Bhramananda Valli, somewhere in the middle. And we were looking at the movement from Annamaya Kosha to Pranamaya Kosha. So once you understand that Annamaya Kosha is not you, in the sense you are saying Atma is not Annamaya, which Atma of course means I. So once I understand that I am not Annamaya, then that Annamaya becomes a Kosha. So until then Annamaya was Annamaya Atma. Once you discard the Annamaya Kosha as Anatma, as not you, you are Atma. So if it's not you, it is Anatma. And therefore the Kosha becomes Anatma in my vision. And that's why the word Kosha is used. So this we said is the first step, which is the determination of the gross physical body as an Anatma. So Anatma Nishchaya. I have convinced myself that the body is not me, and therefore it is Anatma because I am Atma. Okay, so after I am convinced that Annamaya is Atma, then you have to recall what all the teaching says. If Annamaya is Anatma, what is the Karanam for Annamaya? What is the cause for Annamaya? It is Atma only. Therefore, the moment you say that Annamaya is a Kosha, Annamaya is a Anatma, then it becomes a Atma Karyam, a product of Atma. So the first step is Anatma Nishchayaha, understanding that the body is Anatma. The second step is Annamaya is Karyam, that because the body is Anatma, the body is also a product. The third step is because it is a product, it is nothing but Nama Rupa only, name and form only. The third step is Annamaya is Nama Rupa. So first step, Annamaya Anatma. Second step, Annamaya is Karyam. Third step, Annamaya is Nama Rupa. And once something is a Nama Rupa, it is not got an independent existence of its own. And therefore, something which doesn't have an independent existence of its own is what? Mithya. So that is the fourth step. First step is Anatma Nishchayaha. Second step is Karya Nishchayaha. Third step is Nama Rupa Nishchayaha. Fourth step is Mithyatva Nishchayaha. So the fourth step you have said that this body is Mithya only. Mithya means it has got dependent existence. And whatever has got dependent existence is, in the view of Shastram, it is as good as non-existence, since it does not have sat, existence as an intrinsic property. So Mithyatva Nishchaya is the fourth step. And once you see the body as Mithya, it is like you are looking at the pot and seeing that the pot is nothing but clay. And therefore, the pot vision goes away. It has been resolved. The pot has been intellectually swallowed because of the understanding that the pot is the clay. This is the final step. This is called Pravilapanam, annihilation of the pot. Its pot is not physically destroyed. It is an intellectual destruction of the pot. And so at this fifth step, I say that the Annamaya Kosha has got Pravilapanam. It has been resolved, it has been annihilated, it has been destroyed intellectually. Okay. Now, because we have said Annamaya is now a kosha, what is the next step? You remember what it says? Anyontara Atma Pranamaya. Anyaha Atma. There is another one, which is the Atma. And it says Antaraha. That is inside the Annamaya. What is interior to Annamaya? Pranamaya. Therefore, I have moved to Pranamaya, because of which I have got all these 5 steps. Now I have to practice meditation on Pranamaya for some time. Pranamaya is what? Pranamaya as the Atma. Right? And what is the meditation going to be? First, the Upanishad says, you must know what is the shape of the pranamaya. So he says, that is where we have left off last time. So, Tenaisha Purnaha. Tenaisha Purnaha is the next part of the mantra, which is Tena Esha Purnaha. So, Eshaha refers to Anna Rasamaya, which is the Annamaya Kosha now. Tena, that Annam, that Eshaha, that Annamaya Kosha, Purnaha, is filled with what? Tena. So Tena here is that one. That one is the one which we are currently discussing. Pranamayena. So Pranamaya fills the Annamaya. That is what he is saying. Tenaisha Purnaha, Esha Tena Purna. That Annamaya Kosha is filled with the Pranamaya. So essentially he is saying that Annamaya container is filled by Pranamaya Atma. Right? So remember that Annamaya has got a shape because it is a physical body. Pranamaya doesn't have any fixed shape, but here Upanishad is saying that it is as if you are pouring the Pranamaya into the Annamaya. Like water has no fixed shape, but when you pour it into a glass, then you say that shape of the glass is acquired by the water. Similarly, Annamaya, being a solid body, has got the shape of a human being, Purusha. Pranamaya does not have an intrinsic shape, but since it is being poured into this Annamaya, it takes on the shape of the vessel, of the container, which is Annamaya Kosha, physical body. So the container defines the content, the shape of the content. The container body defines the shape of the content Pranamaya. And therefore, Pranamaya is now taking on the borrowed shape of the Annamaya Kosha, which is in the shape of a human being. Right? We are talking about the Annamaya Kosha of a human being only, because this is the meditation for the purposes of moksha. So any other living being is excluded from here. We're talking about Manushyas only, human beings only. And so the mantra says, Sava Esha Purusha Vida Eva. Sava Esha, that Va is to be taken as Y, indeed. Savai, that indeed, Eshaha. Eshaha here is Pranamaya Atma now. So that understanding has to be very clear. Earlier on, Tena Eshaha. Eshaha was Annamaya container filled by Tena, which is Pranamaya. Now, Savai Eshaha. Eshaha here is Pranamaya. So this Savai Eshaha means this Pranamaya Atma. Remember, it is Atma now. It is not yet turned into a kosha. You will reject the pranamaya as anatma and call it kosha only when you move to the manomaya. This is the meditation. Sava eshaha, this pranamaya atma, purusha vida eva. So purusha vida, Shankara defines as purusha akara, in the shape of the purusha of the human body. Hence, purusha eva is indeed or only. So pranamaya atma is indeed in the shape of the human body now, because that pranamaya has been poured into the annamaya kosha. So the pranamaya will take on the shape of manushya only, purusha akara, human body only. At the time of the death of the physical body, what happens? The pranamaya leaves the annamaya, the sukshma shariram leaves, so pranamaya also leaves. And then it will no longer have the same shape of the human body. What shape will it have? It depends on the next physical body. So that you remember. So here it is repeated once more. Tasya Purusha Vidatam Anvayam Purusha Vidaha. So look at the second part first. Anvayam Purusha Vidaha. Anvaya is not the Anvaya of Vyatireka Anvaya which we are used to. Anvaya here has to be broken up. Anu, Ayam. Anu and Ayam. Okay. So you take the Ayam first. Ayam Purusha Vidaha. Ayam is this. This is what this Pranamaya Atma Purusha Vidaha is in the form of a human body. Anu. Anu means following or in keeping with what? Tasya. Tasya is referring to that physical body. Anna Rasamaya body, which we talked about earlier. So this Pranamaya Kosha is now in the shape of a human body in keeping with the shape of the Annamaya Kosha of a human being. And therefore it says Purusha Vidatam. This is the form of Purusha. Because it is present in the Annamaya container. The Annamaya belongs to the human body. And therefore Pranamaya also has the same shape. Shankara gives an example like molten metal, liquid metal or liquid copper, which is being poured into a mold. The liquid copper itself is shapeless, but it acquires the shape of the mold. And the same principle has to be extended further also. In keeping with the shape of the previous kosha, which is Annamaya kosha, the Pranamaya has the shape of the Annamaya kosha. Then the Manomaya will have the shape of the Pranamaya kosha. Pranamaya kosha is of what shape? Annamaya kosha shape, human body. And therefore, all the koshas will have human shape. All the later koshas will have human shape. To be remembered is that Annamaya's shape, the form of the Annamaya is intrinsic because it's a physical body. The other four have borrowed this form because they are present inside the Annamaya. Okay. Now, having said that, Purushavidaha, it has human form. And therefore, if you remember, human form, we can talk about the 5 parts. We talked about the 5 parts in the case of Annamaya also. And here again, he is talking about the 5 parts. So he says, Tasya Prana Shiraha Eva. So Tasya, of that Pranamaya Atma, Prana Eva Shiraha. So Tasya means of that Pranamaya Atma, Prana is the head. Prana Eva Shiraha. Now this Prana is the Prana of the Pancha Pranas. Prana, Vyana, all those things. Prana, Apana, Vyana. Of that 5 pranas, we're talking about the first prana, Pranaha. Eva Shiraha. Prana is the head. So for Pranamaya Atma, the prana is the most important point, aspect of it. And that is why we are calling it head. The head is the most important aspect of a human being. Without the head, you are not there. And what is this prana? So prana, remember, in the scripture, prana can mean Hiranyagarbha, prana can mean your Pancha Prana, prana can generally mean the whole set of 5 Pancha Pranas. And therefore Shankara defines. He says pranaha means that which comes out from the nose on your face. Shankara is very clear about it. That which comes out of the nose on your face is the exhalation. The pranamaya. Why exhalation? What is the normal understanding of prana? We have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita also.
Urdhvam gacchati prana.
Urdhvam gacchati pranaha. Right? So that which goes up. And which goes up means it is coming out of your nose. And therefore, mukha nasika nissaranaha. Nissaranaha means coming out. Mukha nasika means that nose on your face. All right, Shankara is very clear. Coming out of that nose on your face. That is called pranaha. Okay, that is Shankara's what I call definition. We can think of a logical support also. Prana is the most important part. Why? If you take prana as respiration, without respiration, The body is not alive. And just as the body cannot be alive without respiration, without the head also you cannot be alive. And therefore the prana is called the head. The head is the controller of all the functions of the body. And therefore without the head, the body also cannot be alive. Therefore prana is equated to the head. That is the logical support Shankara doesn't give, we can supply. Then Vyano Dakshina Pakshaha. That is the Mulam part. Vyano Dakshina Pakshaha. So Vyana is what function? The circulatory function. Dakshina Pakshaha. So Dakshinam literally means south. But you remember that when you are facing the sun, the east, your right hand side is the south. And for Dakshina here has to be taken as the right. Okay. Do you see any problem with taking Dakshina as the right in the context of Vyana? Right means right side of the body.
Circulation is all over the body.
Yeah, all directions.
Excellent. So Vyana is all over the body. Okay. So and Shankara anticipates this question, and therefore question is what? Circulation is all over the body. Why should you take it as the right side, as Dakshina Pakshaha? Shankara says Vachanat Eva. Vachanat Eva means because Shruti says so. For him, Shruti is Pramanam. Shruti says that Vyana should be taken as Dakshina. So he says that's it. You have to take it as Dakshina. So that is there is no logical reasoning given here. Indeed, it cannot be given because Vyana is all over the body. And to take it as Dakshina, as the right side, it is meant for the visualization process, the Upasana process. And therefore, in the Upasana, Shruti tells you, take this as the center, take this as the head, take this as the right, and therefore Vachanat Eva. Because Shruti says so, you have to take Vyana as the right side of the body. Okay. Now, then, Apana Uttara Pakshaha. That is the Mulam again. Apana Uttara Pakshaha. Apana, the excretory system, is visualized as the left hand side. Again, there is no reasoning. It is because the Shruti says so. Apana has to be visualized as the left hand side. Apana is the system which removes the waste from your body, right? Whatever nutrition is required is absorbed from the food, and the rest of it in the form of liquid and semi-solids are removed from your body. Apana is the prana which makes that possible. Okay. Then Akasha Atma. So Akasha literally means space. But we are talking about what? Pranamaya Atma. So Akasha is taken as Antariksha, the middle portion between Prithvi and Swarga. Okay. So the key here is the middle. So you have to look at your middle. Which prana occupies the middle space of your body? Or Tattva Buddha only? Which prana is found
Digestion.
in? Sorry?
Digestion.
Yeah, what is the name of the prana?
Samana.
Samana prana. Okay, the Akasha, therefore, remember the logic is this. Shankara doesn't say we supply. Logic is that when you say Antarikshaha, that refers to Akasha. Antarikshaha means the space between heaven and earth, literally. And therefore, the key here is the middle portion, in between. So in between your body is what? Your stomach and digestive system. What is the prana occupying there? That is Samana prana. And therefore, Akashaha here represents Samana prana, the digestive system. It occupies the central part of the body. And of course, it has a very central role because it is the reason why your body gets nutrition. And therefore, he says, Sa Atmeva Atma. The Samana prana can be given as Atma status also. Then, Prithvi Pricham Pratishtha. Pricham literally means the poonch. What does poonch mean?
Tail. Back.
is the tail.
Tail of the.
Right? Prithvi, Pucham Pratishtha. So Prithvi means earth. Pucham means the tail, and Pratishtha means the support. Okay. So here Prithvi refers to Prithvi Devata. Okay. What is the role of Prithvi Devata in the prana system? Anybody?
Provide food.
No, in the prana system. Okay, I don't think we have discussed this before. So Shastra says elsewhere that what is the prana actually is in continuous movement. What is it that retains the prana in your body? There is a force. There is some support. There is some devata. So Prithvi Devata is the one who retains the prana in your body. And therefore he is called Pucham. He is the lower part of the body. And Pratishtha, he supports the prana. Pratishtha refers to the prana. So Prithvi supports all the pranas by retaining them in the body. And it's called Pucham. Pucham is being equated. The tail is being equated to the support. Why so? Have you seen a monkey?
The tail balance. The tail
is
balances the body of an animal.
the tail is the support. It balances the body of an animal. Right? When it stands up, the tail is what is supporting it. So here you can take it as Prithvi Devata is connected to your prarabdha. Once the prarabdha is exhausted, Prithvi Devata will no longer retain the prana in your body and the Sukha Shariram will leave. So Pucham, that is the equation over here. Pucham, like the lowest part, which is the support. And Shankara in his commentary quotes Prashnopanishad, which we will do so later. So Prashnopanishad has a mantra which says that Prithvi Devata occupies the bottom half, the lower half of your stomach, and maintains the balance of the prana, of the pranamayas, of the pranas. And Shankara says, otherwise, anyatha, he gives the reason, otherwise, without the support of Prithvi Devata, literally Prithvi Devata is as if he is holding back the Udana prana, right? Udana prana also has an upward movement. So without that Prithvi Devata holding on to the Udana prana will leave the body, which means you will die. That is why Prithvi Devata is called Pucham, the tail, the support, Pratishtha for Pranamaya Atma. That is the explanation given. And then he says, Tadapi Esha Sloko Bhavati. With reference to the Pranamaya Atma also, Esha Sloko Bhavati. There is Esha Slokaha. A following Rig mantra is there. That is the ending of Anuvaka number 2. Any questions?
Om Raviji.
Om
When we say that Urdhvam Gacchati Pranaha, that is with reference to the chest, it is upward movement. But if we take reference to the nostrils, then the same breath actually is coming downwards. No? Exhalation would be means downward movement.
Downwards, outwards. So if you are taking the reference of the body, the lungs, right? Then you are saying it's going upwards. And you have to take the movement upwards because when you say apana, adho gacchati apana, what goes downwards is apana. So that is a comparison.
Okay, so it is understood that the reference is with the lungs.
With the chest, as you say, chest or the body itself.
Right. Okay.
Okay, if there are no questions, Arunji.
Can you hear me?
Yes, June, please go ahead.
Is my voice clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So how do we know that the reference point is the body unknown, like the nostrils? Is there any, I don't know, quotation?
How do you know reference point? When you are saying
Yes.
Urdhvam Gacchati, the air is going upwards. It is going upwards from where? From the
From the
body.
lungs.
Yeah, from the outward from the nostrils. Outward from the nostrils. But the movement is not starting from here, right? It's starting from somewhere. It starts from the lungs. So it's going upwards. Somebody has got a mic on, so would you please switch it off? Okay, Arvindji, can you please chant Anuvaka number 3, starting with Pranam Deva Anuprananti.
Yes. Om Pranan Deva Anuprananti Manushya Pashavaschaye Prano hi bhuta namayuhu Tasmaat sarva yushamuchyate Sarvameva ayuryanti Ye pranam brahmopasate Prano hi bhutanamaayuh tasmat sarvayushamuchyata iti tasyaisha eva sharira atma yah purvasya tasmadva etasmaat pranamayat anyontara atma manomayah तेनैष पूर्णः स वा एष पुरुषविध एव तस्य पुरुषविधताम् अन्वयं पुरुषविधः तस्य यजुरेव शिरः तस्य यजुरेव शिरः ऋग्दक्षिणः पक्षः सामोत्तरः पक्षः आदेश आत्मा अथर्वाङ्गिरसः पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा तदप्येष श्लोको भवति.
Thank you, Arvind. Okay, now we are entering the third Anuvaka. Okay, and this is a Rig mantra. Why is it a Rig mantra? Because of the last line of the earlier mantra, which said Tadapi Esha Sloko Bhavati. In this context, there is one Rig mantra now being chanted. So that mantra starts, again I'll repeat, mantra starts from Pranam Deva and goes up to Tasmat Sarvayusham Uchyata Iti. Remember that the Iti is the equivalent of a inverted commas, closing parenthesis. That is, this is the quotation. So Pranam starts from there, ends at Sarva Ayusham Uchyata Iti. Okay. So this mantra, you remember that this iti has to be understood as the punctuation mark, because in the oral tradition, there were no punctuation marks. Okay. Now we're talking about the pranamaya question, right? Now this prana of ours, there is in Shastra, when we talk about Vyashti prana, individual prana, remember that the individual prana actually is a gift by Samashti prana. Samashti prana is what we call Hiranyagarbha. Okay, or Lord Brahmaji. So that pranamaya of ours is the gift of the samashti prana. The manomaya of ours is gift of the samashti manomaya. In fact, the entire individual yashti sukshma shariram can be taken as the gift of the samashti sukshma shariram, which is Hiranyagarbha only. Now you look at the wordings. Pranam deva anuprananti Manushyaha Pasavaschaye. Okay. One more thing. This Hiranyagarbha, Samashti Prana, Lord Brahmaji, is also referred to as Sutra Atma. Okay. Occasionally, you'll find that Sutra Atma. And as and when we do other Upanishads, you will find all these names. Brahma, that is Sagoda Brahma, of course. Sutra Atma, Samashti Vijnanam, Samashti Manaha, Pranaha, all these are there. So, look at the words. Ye Devaha. This Ye Devaha comes from where? From the second part. Pashavascha Ye. So, Ye Devaha. Deva is in the first part after Pranam. Ye Devaha, all these gods. Then you have to put comma. Ye Devaha. Then Ye Manushyaha, all these human beings. And ye Pashavaha, all these animals. Prananti. Prananti means they are alive. They live. Why? Then the Anu has to be connected to the first one, Pranam. So Anu Prananti you break into Anu plus Prananti. So the sentence becomes Ye Devaha, Ye Manushyaha, Cha Ye Pashavaha. These gods, these human beings, and these animals, Prananti, they are alive. Anu Prana, because they depend upon Prana. Anu Prana, because they depend upon Prana. So all gods, all human beings, and all animals live only because of Prana, right? And therefore, you have concepts like pranic healing. So what is pranic healing? Pranic healing, you are supposed to trace the prana disturbance in your body and then try to heal it, invoking samashti prana. And samashti prana is supposed to reside in Surya Devata. Remember that. Brahmaji, that prana portion is part of Surya Devata, a delegated prana portion. And therefore, pranic healing, what you do is you try to draw energy from samashti prana. And that is why some pranic healers, you will see that they hold up their hands. So that is symbolic, saying that I'm absorbing energy from samashti prana. And then I'm trying to direct the energy to the person who is supposed to be healed. Okay, that's also one more reason why, whenever you see some Mahatma blessing you, the palm is raised. So he's tapping into samashti prana and blessing you. Anyway, all because there is a connection between samashti prana and vyashti prana. Now here, Shankaracharya gives a completely different meaning. He says, in the spiritual context, rather, in the context of the present procedure. What is the present procedure? Panchakosha Viveka. We are trying to meditate on Panchakosha, moving in from Annamaya to Pranamaya to Manomaya, etc. So he says, in the context of this Panchakosha, Devaha, the word Devaha means Indriyani, sense organs. And Pranam, Anu Pranam means backed by the Panchapranas, Prananti. Prananti means they function. So here he says that these gods, these sense organs, they function because of the backing of Panchaprana. That is the meaning. Okay. And Va. So Va, he says there is a Va, you to add a Va over there. Or, there is another meaning, and that is what? Tatha Manushyaha Pashavaschaye. So sense organs, since they are supported by Panchaprana, in the same way, Manushya and Pashavaha, animals and human beings are also supported by Hiranyagarbha. So ultimately, all functions, whether that be combine these two interpretations, whatever function you have in the body, whether it be the body of the Lord or the body of the Devas or Manushya or animals, that function cannot take place without the support of Pranamaya. Pranamaya can be taken as individual Pranamaya. It can be taken as Samashti Pranamaya. Then Prano hi Bhutanam Ayu. So Ayu here means the length of the life, or you can take it as life. So Prano hi Bhutanam Ayu. Prana is the cause of the life of human beings. And you can take it Ayu as the age, in which case the interpretation is the extent of your life is determined because of Prana Shakti only. And Shankara quotes from one Upanishad called Kaushitaki Upanishad, where he says that Ayu is equal to Yavat Asmin Sharire Prano Vasati Tad Eva Vayu. As long as the prana remains in the human body, that is called Ayu. That is called life. That's a quotation from Kaushitaki Upanishad. Okay. So he's establishing that prana is the main cause of the life of human, not just the activities of the organs, but the main cause of the life itself of the human beings, of animals, or even of gods. Then tasmat sarvayusham uchyate. So if you are looking at mantra pushpam, there is a dash between tasma and the over there, all that to break up and you have to combine it. Tasmat sarvayusham uchyate. Tasmat. Therefore, you have to add. Therefore, you have to add hiranya garbha, samashti prana. Therefore, samashti prana uchyate is called sarva ayusham. Sarva ayusham. So, we saw earlier that Annam Brahma, when we were looking at the Annamaya Kosha as Atma, we call it Annam Brahma, and we gave them the name of what? What was the name given there? You can't forget from one Saturday to another Saturday, okay? It's not going to work that way. Anybody? Look back. Annagam hi bhutanam jeshtam tasmat sarvaushadham mujyate. Okay, so Annam Brahma was called Sarva Aushadam. This is Pranan Brahma. Pranan Brahma is being given a different name, Sarva Ayusham. So the meditation is there that there is no individual pranamaya, which is or prana, which is separate from samashti prana. There is no individual prana which gets lost. Only the nama rupa goes. The individual prana, the Vashti prana, always merges with samashti prana. It is never lost, and therefore death is not a tragedy at all. In fact, in the Karma Kanda part, you will find that there are Vedic mantras to be chanted at the time of death also. And that mantra says, let this Vyashti prana of mine merge with the Samashti prana. Of course, when you are dying, how you will chant it is, not said. So we'll forget about that part. Therefore, nothing is ever lost. Okay, everything goes back to Samashti. And that is why in our tradition, death is a sacred event where the individual goes back to the universal. Vyashti goes back home to Samashti. And the more you practice this meditation, the more your identification, your abhimana with the Vyashti prana will come down. And therefore, the upasana here is pranamaya, prana, aikya upasana. The samashti prana is called pranam brahma. The word Brahma here means the samashti, microcosm. So once you do this upasana, what do you get? Then the phalam is stated over here. It says, Sarvam eva ta ayuryanti. Sarvam eva ta ayuryanti. So that person, that person, Sarvam eva ayu. They will get full life. The life allotted to him by the Lord, the full life he will get. So what is meant by this Sarvam eva ayu, complete life, full life? So Shankara gives two meanings because you can have a lot of interpretations. So we will take either of these meanings is okay. Shankara says that one meaning is that Upasaka will not have a apamrityu. What is apamrityu? Mrityu you know. Mrityu is death. What is apamrityu?
Sudden death.
No, sudden death is still death.
Means
So apamrityu is a term, and you will have some difficulty in understanding this concept. Okay. Normally, when does death occur?
When prarabdha is over
When
for
prarabdha
a
is
given one.
when prarabdha for a body is over, death occurs, right? When prarabdha has been exhausted, the death occurs. Apamrityu, Shankara says, is a death which is not a normal death. In fact, it occurs before the prarabdha has been exhausted. How does that happen?
An event of collective prarabdha?
No, collective prarabdha, if occurs, your prarabdha is included in that. So normally we take it as abuse of self-will, which in this case can mean suicide. Okay, so suicide is apamrityu. You cannot say that a person who commits suicide has committed suicide because of his prarabdha. So that's, we have mentioned this earlier in our discussions, but here specifically Shankara is bringing out apamrityu is a death which is not normal. So the person who is doing this prana upasana, he will never have apamrityu. That is one meaning. Now, according to Shastra, second meaning, according to Shastra, the normal life is how many years?
100 plus.
120 years.
Have you heard this mantra? Kurvanne veha karmani jivesha shatagam samaha. Isha Upanishad. Shatagam samaha. Shatagam means 100 years. So the Shatagam is 100. Samaha is years. Okay. Shatagam samaha. And in Chandogya Upanishad, when you will say Shatam Varshani tu yuktam. So that is Shatam Varshani, 100 years. So this is the second meaning of Sarvam Eva Ayu. So two meanings are there. First meaning is that you will not have a abnormal death, apamrityu. Second meaning is that you will have a full life up to 100 years. Now Shankara says that the second meaning is a better meaning. Why? Why?
He will keep practicing for 100 years. He
Yeah,
will
so if
be-
you're talking about allocated life, your allocated life might be only 25 years. And therefore, the first meaning can give you a lower number of years than the second meaning, which is a full 100 years. And any upasana must give you good phalam, right? And therefore, 100 years is better phalam than 50 or 60 years. Therefore, there is an implication here, which is a very, very subtle implication, that even if your original prarabdha is not designed to give you 100 years, because of the prana upasana, your life will extend to 100 years. Okay. So this is the reason, and therefore he says this word has to be taken as that a prana upasaka will live his full life up to 100 years. In 100 years, you can do a lot of things, including a lot of maranam and nididhyasana. Okay. Then the next question is, Ye pranam brahmo upasate. So this is referring to that person. Ye prana brahma upasate. Pranam brahma, he is meditating upon pranam brahma, which is what? Saguna Brahman, which is Hiranyagarbha. What will happen to him? Sarvameva te ayurvan. They will get this full life of 100 years. And what is the reason? Prano hi bhutanam ayu. Since that prana, that Hiranyagarbha, here again, prana is being used in the meaning of Sutratma, the Hiranyagarbha, Saguna Brahma. Prano hi bhutanam ayu. It is because of Hiranyagarbha only that you will get a full life. Right? What is the rule for upasana? We have said this several times before. Yatha yatha upasate tadeva bhavati. Whatever you practice upasana upon, the phalam connected with that is only going to come. And therefore, this rule is that if you are practicing upasana on Hiranyagarbha, you are connecting the Vyashti prana with the Samashti prana, right? And therefore, you'll have a long life. This long life is the phalam for Sakama Upasaka or Nishkama Upasaka.
Nishkama.
Sakama.
It's Nishkama because, sorry, it's Sakama. Sakama because he's asking for long life, right?
Remember, anything to do with material stuff is always sakam.
Sakama.
Okay. So long life is the phalam, is the fruit for a sakama upasaka. What about nishkama upasaka? What will be his phalam?
Chitta Shuddhi.
Chitta Shuddhi. Okay. Chitta Shuddhi is the phalam for nishkama upasaka. And of course, a very important benefit is that your identification with Vyashti Pranamaya, Vishti Prana will come down. And this part is the most crucial, because until your identification with Vyashti Prana, that is your Pranamaya Kosha, comes down, you cannot break the identification with Prana, with Pranamaya. Unless you break the identification with Pranamaya, you cannot move on to Manomaya. As long as you say, I am Pranamaya Kosha, Pranamaya is Atma for you. Therefore, you cannot move to Manomaya. Only when you say, okay, Pranamaya, I am not, then you are giving the status of Koshaha to Pranamaya. And then you can move to Manomaya. And therefore, Tasmat Sarva Aushatam, Sarva Ayusham Jate. This Sutratma is called Sarva Ayuhu, the one who provides life to everybody. Tasmat Sarva Ayusham Jate iti. Iti indicates the end of the Rigmata. Okay. Now, did you notice that Prano hi Bhutanam Ayu came twice? Once after Manushyaha Pasavaschaye, Prano hi Bhutanam Ayu. And once before Tasmat Sarvayusham Uchyata iti, again it is Prano hi Bhutanam Ayu. It's there twice. It's a repetition. Okay. And this repetition is not Punarukti Doshaha. This repetition is for highlighting that whatever you meditate upon, yatha yatha upasate tadeva bhavati. Whatever you meditate upon, that is what you will become. That is what you will achieve. That is only for highlighting that. So with this, the Rig Mantra is over. And now we are going back to the Upanishad. The next line is Tasyesha eva Sharira Atma Yah Purvasya or Yah Purvasya. Okay. Now, Sharira Atma is a word over here. Tasya is that Pranamaya, Sharira Atma, is called the Sharira Atma. Sharira Atma means the Atma which is within the Sharira. Shariram is the physical body, Annamaya Kosha. So Sharira Atma is that Atma which is inside the Annamaya Kosha. And that is why it's called Sharira Atma. So he says that Sharira Atma, Yaha Purvasya, this Pranamaya Atma, which is inside the Sharira Atma discussed earlier, that subject is over. And therefore, we are now going to enter what? The Manomaya Kosha. And there you will see Tasmadva Etasmat Pranamaya Anyo Antara Atma Manomaya. Okay, so that we will cover today. So Tasmat Va. So when you break it up, something becomes Tasmat Vai. So Vai means in fact, indeed. Tasmat Etasmat. So that breakup again you will do. Tasmat Etasmat Pranamayat Anyaha. So there is a full stop after Pranamayat and Anyavantara Atma Manomaya is different. So you remove the full stop. You break up the Anyavantara into Anyaha and Antaraha. Antaratma Manomaya is one portion. Okay. So why in fact Tasmat Etasmat Pranamayat Anyaha. Tasmat. Therefore, Etasmat. This Etasmat is what? Manomaya. Tasmat Manomaya Pranamayat Anya. Therefore, that word, that phrase means, therefore, this Manomaya is different from Pranamaya. Not only that, Antaraha. It is also interior to the Pranamaya. Interior meaning you're moving out from outward to inwards. So outward most was Annamaya, then was Pranamaya. And the same words were used earlier. Anyuvantaraha is different from and is interior to. So in the last part, we are talking about Pranamaya. So it was said that Pranamaya is different from Annamaya and interior to Annamaya. Now we are talking about Manomaya, and we are saying Manomaya is different from Pranamaya and interior to Pranamaya. How do you know? Manomaya Atma. This Manomaya Atma is different from Pranamaya and interior to Pranamaya, inside Pranamaya, further inside. Okay. And what is Manomaya? So Shankara gives the definition. He says Sankalpa Atmakam Antakaranam. That Antakaranam, which is doing Sankalpaha, you have to add here Vikalpaha. And therefore you will know the connection to Tattva Bodha. Sankalpa, Vikalpa, Manaha. Mind is that role of the Antakaranam, which is doing Sankalpa, Vikalpa. Okay. Now, once you say Manomaya is Atma, again I repeat, Atma means I. So when I say that Manomaya is Atma, the understanding is you have to translate it. Once I say I am Manomaya Kosh, I am Manomaya Atma, then what happens? The first step you have to repeat. What is the first step? Anatma Nishchayaha. So Pranamaya, you have to do Anatma Nishchayaha, which means Pranamaya will become a Kosha, and that is Anatma Nishchaya. And then you repeat the steps. Once Pranamaya is Anatma, then Karyam Nishchaya, Karyatva Nishchaya. It becomes a Karyam, a product. Once it becomes a product, it becomes Nama Rupa, therefore Mithya. The third part is Mithyatva Nishchaya. And whatever is Mithya is as good as non-existent. And finally you come to Pravilapanam. Right? So you are dissolving the Pranamaya Kosha into the Annamaya Kosha, into what? You are taking them both as Mithya. Just as you said that Annamaya is Mithya, resolve the Annamaya Kosha. Similarly, you have to say that Pranamaya is Mithya. So Annamaya you can resolve into Virat, and Pranamaya you can resolve into Hiranyagarbha, the Sutra. So that is a resolution, the understanding that they are Mithya. Okay. And there is one more point to be noted. What is that? We come back to the same thing. Tenaisha Purnaha. So after Anyantara Atma Manomaya, you can see Tenaisha Purnaha. It's a repetition of the previous Anuvaka. Tenaisha Purnaha. Here Eshaha means Pranamaya is filled with Tena Manomaya. Pranamaya is filled with Manomaya. Manomaya is being poured into the Pranamaya. Pranamaya already has the shape of the Annamaya. And therefore, the Manomaya also takes the shape of the human body. And therefore, Tasya Purusha Vida Eva Tasya Purusha Vidatam. Tasya Purusha Vidatam. This Manomaya is now in the shape of the human body because Sava Eshaha, this Manomaya also, I am Purusha Vidaha Anu, is following the human form. Again, Annamaya does not have an intrinsic shape, therefore assumes the shape of its container, which is Pranamaya. Pranamaya does not have an intrinsic shape, it assumes the shape of Annamaya, which is the human body. Therefore, ultimately, Manomaya also has human shape. Okay. Let's quickly try to finish the rest of it. So, Tasya Yajureva Shiraha. Tasya Shiraha. That Tasya refers to what? Manomaya. Shiraha is head. The Manomaya's head is Yajur Eva. Yajuhu Eva is the Yajurveda mantra. What is a Yajurveda mantra? A mantra which has Shankara defines. The mantra called Yajurveda is a mantra which has got several lines and letters, and they are irregular. There is no uniformity in the number of letters or number of lines. And therefore, in simple English, what do we call it? A piece of writing in which there is no regularity about the number of letters and number of lines.
No chandas, prose form.
Prose form. Okay, very simple. It's prose form. Shankara gives a very complicated definition. In simple English, prose form. Why does he say then that the Yajurveda is the head? Yajur mantra is the head. Very interesting reason. Rig mantras and Sama mantras, if you have heard any, they are used for inviting devatas to the home. So it's called avahanam. For avahanam, you use rig mantras and Sama mantras. And Sama mantras are also used for glorifying the devatas or inviting them. While the mantra used for actually giving the oblation, the ghee and all that, when you give the oblation, the mantra is from Yajurveda. Rig mantras and Sama mantras are for invitation and glorification. Yajur mantras for offering the oblations. What is the most important part of a yajna? Invitation, glorification, or offering? It is the offering. And therefore, offering is taken as the head of the Manomaya Kosha. The same reason, without the head, the body doesn't exist. Without the offering, it is not a homa. And therefore, therefore the Shruti says that the Yajurveda, Yajur mantras are the head of the Manomaya Atma. Then, Rig Dakshina Pakshaha. Rig Veda is the right side. So again, literally Dakshina means south, but we face the east, and therefore right side is facing the south, although this is there. So we just take it so because the Shruti says so. And similarly, Sama Uttara Pakshaha, Sama Veda Uttara Pakshaha is the left side. And then Adesha Atma. So here, the contextual meaning of Adesha is command, right? I mean, the literal meaning of Adesha is command. But here, Shankara says that you have to take Adesha as the Brahmana portion of the Vedas. So Vedas, have different, portions. Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishads, right? So he says Adesha here is taken as Brahmana portion. Why? Because the Brahmana portion contains all the instructions for performing the rituals. Adesha is what? Instructions. And therefore, by literal meaning of Adesha instructions, those instructions are found in the Brahmana portion of the Vedas, and the Brahmana portion is quite large, and therefore it should be taken as the middle portion. So Adesha Atma, the middle portion, is the Brahmana portion, is the central portion where all the Vedic injunctions, commandments are found, right? So Vidhi and Nisheda Vakyas, etc. And our life is supposed to be based on the basis of these commandments, do's and don'ts. And therefore, it's called the Atma. So that is Adesha Atma. And Atharva Angirasa Pucham Pratishtha. So where did we hear the name Atharva? Or Angirasa?
In the Mundaka Upanishad.
Mundaka Upanishad. So Atharva Vedas, mantras, Atharva Angirasa. Atharva Veda mantras revealed by two people, Atharva Rishi and Angirasa Rishi. Pucham is the lower part of the Manomaya Kosha, Pratishtha, which is the support. Why is it called the support? Because Atharva Veda prescriptions, mantras, are meant for things like Ihaloka Phalam, the fruits in this life, which is health and prosperity. And therefore, Shankara says, whatever is your goal in life, You can be wanting to be a football player, you can be wanting to be a tennis player, you can be wanting to be a chess player, you can be wanting to be a Vaidika, you can be wanting to be a teacher. Whatever the goal in life is, the most important thing to be taken care of is the health of the body, right? Because without the healthy body, all karmas are difficult to perform. And that is a very basic human need. And therefore, that is why it is called the Atharva Veda mantras, which are meant for health and prosperity. They are taken as Pucham Pratishtha, as that which supports. Okay. And one last bit before we go. I hope you guys are okay with another 5 minutes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes,
so
sir.
Shankara discusses a small problem here. He says, when you talked about Annamaya, 5 factors were mentioned. The Shira, Dakshina, Paksha, etc. Right? When you talked about Pranamaya, also 5 factors were mentioned. Prana, Apana, etc. But all those are what? Part of the body, physical and subtle body. But in Manomaya, I mean, you're talking about Vedas, and these Vedas are outside the Manomaya. While both the 5 factors mentioned for the physical body as well as the 5 factors mentioned for the subtle body, Pranamaya Kosha, they are all within the koshas, within the body. But in Manomaya Kosha, they are the Vedas, they are not within the body, they are outside the body. They are Shabdaha, they are words. How can they become part of Manomaya Atma? This is a question raised by a Purvapakshi. So Shankara says that Vedas are, it's a very interesting answer. Vedas are knowledge or jnanam. Every jnanam is in the form of a manovritti, a thought in the mind. And therefore, every Veda mantra, any Veda mantra you see, ultimately represents a mental thought only. Therefore, a Rig mantra is what? A manovritti, a mental thought in the form of Rig, the Rig mantra's form. And all these are only symbols for communication of thoughts. And therefore, they are very much part of Manomaya Kosha. See the logic. The mantras found in the Upanishads, in the Vedas, not Upanishads only, in the Vedas are basically only symbols for communicating. They are nothing different from thoughts themselves. And thoughts are part of the Manomaya Kosha. Therefore, every mantra is in the form of a mental process. And therefore, Dakshina, Uttara, etc. Okay. All vrittis, all thoughts are part of the Manomaya Atma. And he ends by saying, Tadapi Esha Sloko Bhavati. In this regard, also, there is one more sloka to be quoted, which will come in the 4th Anuvaka. So with this, we'll stop. Any questions? Remember, this is the Jnanam portion, okay? Bhramananda Valli. You have to revise it again and again and again before you come for class. Otherwise, you'll lose the thread altogether. It's a very compressed form of teaching. So with this, we'll stop for today, unless you have any questions. Okay. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Right.
Thank